Good morning. Excuse me. Good morning, YouTubers. Here we are in our kitchen that is remaining. This kitchen will stand. Everything else that you see on the other side of the camera is going away, except for my husband.
I can't get rid of me that easily.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. All right. There's our chairs. Oh, there you are. You're sitting in your man chair. Good. And, just extreme need for UBI. And this is what, oh, this is what, what's his name, running for New York City mayor, Andrew Yang says that we need. And that's, I guess, his socialism. It's a more of a socialism type of orientation. And this was like the worst thing that they said, Trump said was bad. Anything Trump says bad is good. And, he lied about everything else. So everything he said was bad is good. So just know that. And it is socialism. And it's a way of us surviving.
Okay, let's not think of it as socialism. I want to reframe that because framing is important in these arguments. Now, I want to just replay what I just said, which is that 100 years ago, the deal was going to be maybe even 150, all you people on the farm, breeding your animals, raising your crops, producing products, trading products on barter, the general store, all that stuff. You being able to do for yourself, that's fine and good, but we got another deal for you. Here's the other deal. You come work for us in our factory. We don't have enough labor. We're trying to bigger and bigger all the time, and so we need labor. Cheap labor that speaks the English and reads and writes English and as cheaply as possible. Now, cheaply as possible, here's how they interpret that. When they say they want everyone to empty the countryside and come into the city, here's what they really want. Here's what they actually want. They want to go out in the morning as the
sun rises,
as the bell is about to go off to start the shift. They want to go out in the morning to open the gate to have people come in, and they want to see all of their regular employees lined up ready to come in, and then they want to see that many more lined up at another door trying to get in to get a job. When the employees in line see the hundreds and thousands of people lined up to get their job, the employees in line ready to come in and clock in won't ever say anything about, I need better pay, I need better work conditions, I need better safety, I need better whatever, okay? They'll just say, man, there's a lot of people who want to work here. And they'll just hunker down, right? They'll hunker down. So when capitalism is sending out these ads far and wide, broadcasting to the countryside, you come in and you work in my factory, I got a great deal for you. I'm going to pay you money, hard cash. And you know how bad it was on the farm when we didn't have 2 dimes to rub together, right? I mean, you had food, you had animals, you could feed yourself, but you never had money to go out and buy sugar and salt and flour and the other things that you couldn't do for yourself. So you come work in my factory, send one of your sons, come work or even a daughter, come work in my factory, and the deal is, I'll give you money. And although you can't eat money, here's another trick for you. You hadn't even heard this trick. You can go into the canteen in my factory and use your money to buy food, prepared food. It's like you're the king, right? It's like the king had food brought to him. Now you're the king, except you're working in a factory and you can't breathe, right? But you go to the cafeteria and you buy the food with the token I'm giving you every hour, and then you come back and you work your shift.
Oh, and the food is in a slot machine.
Well, whatever. Okay, the details don't matter.
But it's not good, healthy food.
You're interrupting me. Don't do that.
Right.
So that was the deal. That's why people left the farm. And as people left the farms fell on hard times. Bigger corporations came in to have a conversation with the farmer, which is, here's the deal. You sell me your land, and then you go get a job in the city, and you work in the city. I will hire really, really cheap labor to work the farm that used to be yours. And you can even stay here and work your former farm if you want to at the wages I'm willing to pay for ag labor. and or you can go in the city and get in on that deal. So everybody went in one direction or another. They either left the farm to go work in the city, or their farm was bought out from under them and they had to go and work in the city. Anyway, that was the deal. The deal was, we pay you, you spend the money to feed yourself, okay, and get your own housing, because now you don't have that. You can't do that for yourself. We'll do that for you. And that was the deal for 150 years. And that's the deal. When I say the deal, capital T, capital D, the deal. That's capitalism's the deal. Now, that's over. That deal is over. That deal's been over for a long time. Capitalism started exporting jobs to Mexico and Indonesia and Korea and China. And that's them not making good on their part of the deal. They just sucked you into the city, got you off the farm, took your land away from you, if you even had any left in your family, got you into the city. Then they start exporting the jobs to other countries. So they broke the deal. They broke the deal 30 years ago. They broke their end of the deal. Now people can't do for themselves. They still want to see every morning the restaurant that opens down here, downtown San Jose. Every morning when they open in the morning, same story. They want to see their 4 or 5 employees coming in to do their work, and they want to see at the back door, barely speak English, willing to work for $3 an hour, right? That's they still want that.
Okay, I do want
the employers will always want that.
I'm just going to give a little something, because it's a breaking news. You know, we always get interrupted about everything. And it's interesting because it applies to what Kat is talking about. Liquid nitrogen leaks at a Georgia poultry plant and kills 6. Hospitalizes multiple others. These are the environments that we're working in. We've heard about it. We heard about it with COVID when we were talking about the poultry plants.
The meat packing plants.
Right, the meat packing plant. These are the type of things that we're bringing our workers into environments. Just killed 6 and injured many more others with liquid nitrogen. Whoever knows why.
It works for that employer plant, because the work they do is repetitive and robotic. There are 40 people lined up every morning,
getting COVID next to each other. You know,
I don't care about that. Stop interrupting me with the pandemic. I don't give a shit about the pandemic. Shut up about the pandemic, okay? They lose 6 workers to, essentially, they were gassed. The nitrogen, you can breathe it, but there's no oxygen in it. So when it escaped, they were gassed and they died of asphyxiation. They don't care. Those workers are completely fungible. They gone. They dragged the bodies out. There's already 40 people lined up at the back gate waiting for an opening. They bring in 6 new workers. And this is exactly how it happens. Okay, they take 2 hours to clear the plant, drag the bodies out, bring the sheriff in, whatever. Right. 2 hours, maybe even 45 minutes.
Take the dead out.
Clear the floor, get everything fixed. Then they walk out the back of the plant to the back fence, and they've had say, I need 6 workers.
Oh, no, the injured.
And then 6 people at the front come inside, and they put on the 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 PPE they have to wear, the smocks and the gloves and the little hat that goes on their head, and they don't know what they're going to do. And they come inside and they teach them, okay, here's the chicken. You take this knife, you cut this part, you pull these guts out, you put them over here, and then there's another chicken. And they can teach them that in 45 seconds, right? You don't even have to speak English. Just watch what I do, and then you do that. And then they have 6 workers back, and then they're all working. The fire up the line again after 45 minutes. Fire up the line again. That's how it works. That is the actual process. I'm not even making that up. I mean, I did make that up, but that's exactly what they do. Exactly what they do. And this probably happens all the time. This probably happens all the time. It just never makes the news. Well, so the sheriff coroner comes, yeah, industrial accident, pull these people out of here. We'll report this to the relevant authorities. Wink, wink, wink. You know? And 45 minutes later, the production line's running again. Maybe not even 45 minutes. Maybe 15 minutes later, the production line is running again. I'm not joking.
Yeah, 25 more workers, right. Because many were injured in that.
Doesn't matter.
Right.
Unless it's the whole entire plant. They just reconfigure the assembly line, dial down the speed a little bit because they have fewer workers now, and they run that thing in within 15, 20 minutes. And and the authorities never come because wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
But that's an example of capitalism.
That's how this works.
The type of workplaces that we're working in, and and yeah, and
well, happy to say that because of the impacts of global heating and any resulting climate change that comes from that, happy to say that's done. That's all done.
Well, and I think
give it a few years, it's done. It's already done.
COVID has brought it to light, has brought a lot of our problems to light. That the fact that even under a pandemic, we have exposed workers
fine.
And have
let's give the devil her due.
To die.
Do you think it's coronavirus? And you think
it's the same problems? We're just
then when this coronavirus is done, the pandemic is done, or everyone's got a vaccine. That's good enough, right? Or they're pretending they all got a vaccine. They got a shot. They think it's a vaccine. They're ready. Then everything is back to business as usual. The pandemic doesn't count. The pandemic doesn't do anything. It makes no difference.
It's just what it is it brought into sharp relief the problems of capitalism.
I haven't heard any discussion that the pandemic has brought into sharp relief the problems of capitalism.
Well, what we're saying,
and the deal.
When we talk about it, the deal that needs to change. We talk about why we want universal health, universal basic income, is because we have to get out of this system. The system isn't working.
Right.
The way people get food at the grocery stores.
We need to get out of the system. It's all the people who have no power and no agency.
Right. So we have to give them agency.
The people who have all the agency and currently make all the rules, call all the shots, are the people who own production. Right? Yeah. The capitalists, the investors, Wall Street.
They have all the money.
They aren't interested in you getting out of the deal.
No, they're not.
They are interested in using you until there's an industrial accident that kills you, or they've gone through all the people who could possibly work. Now, the problem with UBI is UBI decreases the number of people who are willing to work under your abject conditions.
Right, abject slave labor.
Had hands cut off, being gassed by nitrogen, dying, being hauled out by your arms. It reduces the number of people who are willing to put up with that crap.
Right.
The people aren't stupid. They are desperate, but they're not stupid.
Right.
Even the people lined up to go work in that factory know that the reason why the boss just came out midday to pick up 6 people is because 6 people died or fell ill or something happened. Something fell on them, whatever it was. And so, but they're happy to have the job. They're desperate. They'll take it. And they'll go work in those conditions, and they'll keep their eyes open, and they'll think that they'll be all right. But hey, 6 people today also had their eyes open and thought they were going to be all right. They thought they had a handle on things, and then they died. Okay? So if you're desperate, though, and that's the only thing you've got, then you take it.
Right.
And the capitalists like that game. They like people being desperate, and they don't want UBI. Right. They don't even want unemployment. They don't want anything, okay?
Right.
They want desperate people lined up at the back gate every morning at 3 o'clock in the morning, trying to get at the head of the line, lined up at the back gate 3 o'clock in the morning so they can come out at 6 and pick 4 or 5 people to replace the 4 or 5 people who had to drop out of line yesterday for whatever reason. Lost a finger, got sick, had a heart attack. That's how it works in America. That's called predatory capitalism.
Right.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
And they like it that way. They like it that way.
It is predatory capitalism.
It is predatory.
And I think in and of itself, it's predatory. It's
entirely predatory, top to bottom. There are no good non-predatory capitalists.
Right, exactly.
Or are none.
Yeah.
Now, maybe there were at the very beginning of this shit show, when people still had a conscience. But after 3 generations of billionaires siring sons who go on to become billionaires, they've all lost their soul.
Yeah.
These people are soulless. They're all sociopathic. They're all soulless sons of bitches, and they don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a story that went around. It was like 1890. Okay, this is like ancient history, relatively speaking. of this Jewish guy who had a factory, a textile factory.
Right. Yeah.
And it burned down.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Well, he'd been making a lot of money selling textiles. He was doing okay. Yeah. His factory had insurance. Who knows what?
Yeah.
He paid his employees.
Right.
He paid them their salaries while he was rebuilding his
Right.
his textile factory. That guy is held up in some circles as a saint because he actually had feelings for his employees. Mm-hmm. He knew he was the owner of all the production. He knew the deal. The deal is, right, you come to my factory, I'll give you a token for your daily labor, and you'll feed yourself. And he knew he broke his end of the deal because his employees have been coming to his workplace every day, and then his factory burned down. And his deal was, you're my employees, I am going to pay you even if I don't have a factory. And he did that. Right, because they were dependent on him. That was the only deal that they had, right. Now later versions of that same story are that the factory was full of people. The employer, this is a later day, okay? The employer didn't like his employees going outside to have a cigarette. So he chained all the doors shut. And then when the factory caught fire, the workers couldn't get out. And hundreds of them burned to death inside the factory. That's a later version of the same story. These people have no soul. They have no soul. They were bred with a silver spoon in their mouth to have no soul. They are soulless. They are absolutely corrupted through and through, and they have no soul. And if you think that they're going to give you UBI so you can transition off of capitalism and to a more resilient and self-sufficient way of life, you're wrong. Oh, so you think they're wrong? It'll never happen? You don't think we'll ever get it? Okay, I can carry two thoughts in my mind at the same time. All right. You try this sometime. We need UBI. We need a bridge to a different way of life. Right. We need to be funded for a period of time so that we can use the time rather than being in someone's stupid restaurant washing dishes to try and find another way to live, to find some land, buy the shovels and buy the seeds, repair the land, because of course all the land is dead, right? Repair the land, figure out the irrigation, figure out where we're going to live while we live, and then get down to the business of making food for ourselves and for others. That's what should happen. Right. We need to fund this so that it does happen. I can have that thought at the same time that I have another thought in my mind, which is there's no way in hell they will allow that to happen. No way in hell, because he knows, the boss knows, Jeff Bezos knows that if there's an alternative to his deal, which is just murder for profit, if he knows that there's a deal, people will take it. They'll take that other option and they'll take their chances with the crops and being able to be self-sufficient and resilient. They will take it. And then when one of his assembly lines kills 6 of his workers and he goes to the back gate to go to the back gate and bring 6 more in, there isn't anyone. And he's thinking, how'd this happen? Oh, that's right, UBI. People are off growing crops and trying to be self-sufficient. Who came up with that stupid idea? Right. Now I can contain both of those thoughts in my head at the same time. So how is it going to go forward? Where would be the mechanism that it might go forward? I mean, I guess maybe under the Biden administration. I doubt it. Maybe it's 2024. Joe Biden is not going to
maybe it's 2024. That. We have a socialist. We have, somebody who comes up.
I have an answer to that, I think. One way that goes forward is if enough white people lose their job, that when they come time to vote, and they've been unemployed off and on for 8 months out of the last 12, and they then go to the polls, they're going to be looking at the candidates who are promising to support people with some kind of a bridge to a more resilient, self-reliant way of life.
Okay, so then that's just going to have to be, hopefully in our platform of 2024.
Okay, fine. No, you just missed something really, really important. You just missed this. It just went right over your head, okay? Because you're optimistic, okay? Right. The first thing that has to happen before your platform gets any traction is that we need 4 years of unemployment, okay? When you've had 4 years of unemployment and the white people who really do elect the representatives and demand the legislation, when those people and their children have suffered unemployment for 10 months out of 12 for the last 4 years, then they're going to see the handwriting on the wall. they're going to see, oh, well, the deal is off, I guess. It used to be that if I worked all day for 8 hours, I got this token paycheck at the end, and I could support myself and my family and do okay and be relatively secure and pay my mortgage, and that deal is off. I haven't had a job for 13, 14 months, and I only worked ever for 10 months out of 12 for the last 4 years, and so the deal is off. Don't tell me there's a deal. There's no deal. So now I'm going to elect somebody who's going to say, yeah, the deal is off. Capitalism broke their end of the deal, and they don't give a shit. And they're sociopaths, and they don't give a fuck. So you're doomed. Or we can try and rejigger things. Take a chance on rejiggering things. Roll back the dependencies from being dependent on a job for a paycheck to being less dependent on that and more able to do for yourself. How about we just roll that back? Now, the capitalists, the Jeff Bezoses of the world, are still going to be screaming, tearing their hair out. You can't do that. You can't do that. And we have to collectively turn to them and say, shut up and sit down. The deal is off. You broke the deal. Unemployment is running at 40%, and nobody who is employed for more than 2 or 3 months at a time, and the deal is off. You broke your end of the deal. You sent all the jobs to China and Mexico and Indonesia and Korea, and it's done. So we're going to do something else. So shut up. Sit down and shut up. Now, until you can get to that point, you can't do this transition. Until you get to the point that the white people are more afraid of starving to death than they are of AOC, okay?
Yeah.
Until you get to the point where starvation is a real deal for these people, and a lot of them are dying or whining about it, and lines going out the soup kitchen like it's 1929, okay? Until you get to that, you can't make any traction.
Well, and that, if we look at the white people that they were protesting, and a lot of them, it was problems of, them suffering, being on food lines.
What white people?
Even the people at the Capitol. I mean, part of that was suffering that's going on under, that they're fighting to get the stores open and, the back to normal.
Okay, all right, let me point something out to you. Framing is important here. Those people who were complaining at the Capitol and fighting and waving flags,
a lot of reasons
they were all upper middle class white people. Every one of those people bought an airplane ticket to fly to the Capitol. Right. They bought a hotel rooms. Right. They rented a car. They drove there in their car, their truck from South Carolina. Yeah. They said they let their employees work the shop while they got in their gigantic Ford F-350 and drove to the White House, to the Capitol to overthrow democracy. These were not poor people.
Right.
You look at that white bread mayonnaise bunch, they're all obese, and none of them has missed a meal. These people are not desperate.
Right.
Those people will be desperate at some point, but they're not desperate now. They did not go to the Capitol to get food.
Right.
Or UBI or any other kind of support.
Okay. Right.
They went there.
The
they went there because they love Jeff Bezos.
And they love the capitalists.
And they want to be his bitch.
They want
that stuff to keep going on. And don't change anything. And don't support people. Don't give people health care. Don't give people education. Don't allow people to transition out of poverty.
Socialism.
Don't do anything for anybody. I'm a white guy and I don't want to pay taxes for it. And I'm down here to overthrow democracy, so you don't do that.
Right, that's true. And don't bring the socialists into my country, right?
Right. And you're kidding yourself if you think that those were the people, the Grapes of Wrath version 2, who were in the Capitol demanding
food,
help. They were not there to demand help. They were there to demand that nobody get any help.
Right, or that we don't go socialist and we kill the socialists, and anybody who talks about any kind of program like that, or climate change and anything, because Donald Trump had demonized them.
They want business as usual, straight up, all the time. BAU, don't tread on me. It's all the same thing.
Yeah, they're the people that say. The restaurant owners who say, if I don't have my restaurant, I'll die, and he needs his
slave worker. If I don't have my restaurant, I die.
He's a slave
worker. Here the guy
worker.
is. He got soft hands, hasn't worked, hasn't cooked a meal for anybody for 18 years, has nothing but low wage workers in the kitchen, okay? And And now he's complaining that he's going to die if he doesn't have a job.
If you don't open up his restaurant.
If you don't open his restaurant, he's going to die. I don't think so. I'm pretty sure he's a millionaire. Okay.
Right. And it's just like the same thing with the landscapers saying that we care about the landscape jobs. This guy, our landscaper, is buying $1 million homes. Don't tell me he's got
and his
trouble.
Employees are not. Okay.
Right.
They're working for $6
and they're
an
using
hour
the gas
under the
leaf
table.
blower, the gas leaf blowers, because he can't afford an electric blower.
He doesn't want to.
Right.
And he definitely doesn't want to set up the precedent that we are going to make any amends for the dangerous or deleterious aspects of this work.
Right. No. And then the city says, we've got to make them whole to make any changes. We've got to find, rebates.
Well,
that's ridiculous.
City,
that's government subsidies, or corporations.
Your city is 100% in the pockets of these corporations, including your millionaire landscape operator next door.
Right.
It's a deep rabbit hole, okay?
Yeah.
And if you think that anything you see on the surface is real, you're mistaken. There are several levels of this chess game.
Mm-hmm.
And the first level is we've got to have workers vulnerable to disruptions. If we can't have 100 workers, if we can't have 100 workers lined up at our back gate to eviscerate chickens every day,
right? When the other ones die,
then our business model is broken.
When the other ones die,
when the 6 die, I need to have at least 60 at the back gate. And as they come up to the gate to take the jobs that are just vacated, I say, who's willing to work for $3 an hour? Okay, who's willing to work for $4 an hour? Anybody willing to work $5 an hour? Okay, you 6 people, $5 an hour, you win. And they go in. And that's how they do that. That's how they do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely heartless.
Mm-hmm.
They have no soul. You are negotiating with people who have no soul. They've been burned out, corrupted, destroyed internally by greed. They have no soul. You can't talk to these people.
Right. I mean, yeah.
That's why my actual expectation, not my desire, my expectation is that when climate change hits hard and we have to get off fossil fuels, they're just going to throw people under the bus. Your job, yeah, it's gone. What about it? Toughen up, buttercup. Lift yourself up by your bootstraps. You're just not going to, it's going to make you vomit. You're going to become physically ill when you start hearing what people say when they have to pull the rug out from under these people.
And what we could be doing right now is preparing for it, is what Kat's saying. In that when climate change comes and things have to change, we're not getting ready. And if we have to live like it was when we didn't have fossil fuels, that is 1700s. So there's our model. And Kat says, well, I'm not going to want to live without the internet. Well, fine, but we have to do a lot of.
It's not a model. That's not the right word. I know what you're saying, but that's not the right word. The right word is example.
Mm-hmm.
A model is something you have to do. Mm-hmm. We're going to model this behavior.
Mm-hmm.
You lift it with your left hand. I'm going to lift it with my left hand. What we have here is an example. In the year 1700,
mm-hmm.
there were 600 million people on Earth.
Right. 600
million, million with an M.
Right.
600 million people on the entire Earth.
Uh-huh.
And they were, by and large, almost entirely self-sufficient.
Right.
In fact, their production was so good that they could even support an entire level of service providers like clergy,
kings, and the feudal system, right? Is what you're saying, right?
Tradesmen.
Oh, like
all the family names, Cooper, Carpenter,
okay.
Miller. Okay.
Oh,
they support the clergy,
mm-hmm.
an entire cast
of
tradesmen,
okay.
an entire another cast of merchants.
Right.
Okay.
And then the
who were just moving goods around.
royalty.
And then the royalty on top of that. People's production in 1700 with just 600 million human beings alive on Earth, was so massive that they created the entire civilization in the West, in the East, in Africa, in South America, that gave rise to this civilization today. They had so much throw that we are still echoing from that throw today, 320 years later. That's how massive they were. That was 600 million people spread across the entire planet. Absolutely brilliant. But the basis of it was they could feed themselves. They made their own food. They made their own clothing. They made their own shelters. You know, they didn't have a permit process. They used what materials they could find. They killed animals, used the leather to make shoes. They did these things for themselves. And then they were still so productive they could support an entire level of civilization, which today is the only thing we talk about.
The merchant class, you mean?
Oh yeah, because the merchants and the king and the priests were all the ones literate enough to write the history books. So they wrote the history books about themselves. But what no one talks about is the only reason they could stand around in silks and furs, waving the royal hand and kissing the royal toe. The only reason they could do that was because 599 million other people were so productive, just massively productive.
Growing food for everybody.
For themselves, and then everybody else.
Right, so that they could barter and trade, so that when the guy who made the shoes, was working hard making shoes for everybody, he would provide, they could give him food in exchange for the shoes. Because there wasn't an economy like that. Maybe there was an abstract economy.
Well, no, there was an abstract economy.
There was.
Since abstract. It was money and things like this. Yeah. But that's not the point. I'm not talking about economics. I'm talking about the food chain. Now, in nature, the food chain is the plants. Okay. The predators that we all know and love, the striped tigers and the lions and the wolves. The predators, the marvelous, intelligent, beautiful predators, eat the herbivores. Rabbits, meat, varmints, cattle, deer. They eat the herbivores. The herbivores are also beautiful and charismatic and antlers and all this stuff. They eat the grass.
Zebras.
No one talks about the grass. You go out, you go to the zoo to see the tigers, the lions, the elephants, the gazelles, you go the hippos, and you don't go there to see the grass. And when they bring out the hay to feed the hippos or whatever, and the meat to feed the tigers, you're just looking at the tigers. You're not looking at the fact that there's something they are eating. Well, in all these scenarios, it's the plants. Now, what do the plants do? They produce for themselves.
Okay. They
have water, nutrients, CO2 from the atmosphere, and sunlight. The plants do for themselves. Right. Nobody cares. Right. Nobody cares. Right. You go to the zoo, there's no grotto with plants in it. There's no discussion of the importance of plants. And if you go to the history books, it's all King George and Duke of this and, this army and this general and Caesar and all these high-level predators who were grazing on the people who actually made all that shit happen.
And it's really the plants, going back to the plants.
Those were like the plants.
The people were, but the plants, what Kat was saying was really important. Because he says the plants do everything for themselves. And that's what Allery Middlebrook is saying, that we need to be more like plants. She's saying that. And Kat is saying that too. So he's saying that we need to go back to self-sufficiency and being able to provide for ourselves, and that all of our needs are met locally. That just like the plant. That's what Allery says. We have to be like the plant in that all their needs are met in the same place. And that's the same. That's what we have to have. Create an economy, not an economy. We don't like that word. Create a system that is where all our needs are met in the same place. That's how we can go forward in terms of climate change.
Now,
because that's we have to keep working on it.
This got predicated on your statement that we need to go back to the 1700s.
Okay, fine.
Let's not use 1700 as a model, except I think that there is one number in there we have to keep in mind: 600 million humans on Earth. Okay?
Yeah.
If you want to model something, model that. But what we do have to glean from the lessons of the year 1700 is that Nothing you read in the history books, I mean not one sentence you read in the history books from 1700, that period of time, would have been possible without a whole other group of people, 99% of the population, growing food, eating food, and having a surplus.
99% of the population, that's what they were doing.
That.
Yeah.
99% of the population is never mentioned in the history books.
They were growing food.
They were not the kings, the generals, the emperors, the Caesars. Right. They were none of those people. They didn't conquer anybody. They didn't cross borders. They didn't cross the Rubicon. They didn't do anything. Okay? They stayed on their land. They lived in the house they constructed from wattle and daub.
From
they had their
birth to death,
domestic animals, and they worked the land, and they were so productive. That system was so tuned. The system was tuned like a rocket engine. That system was so tuned that they could produce enough food to support the parasites, like the clergy and the trades and the
musicians, the artists,
the king, the emperor, all their entourage, all the dukes and duchesses, the knights, the whole thing.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Which is 99.99% of your history book.
Okay, but
it's supported by these people who are not in your history book at all.
Right, and that's really beautiful. It's the peasantry. And what does Jesus say? The meek shall inherit the earth. Okay, so
that's not true.
Well, that's what he said. So, but the thing is, the peasantry, we look down on that as being, that's not what I want to do. Have a shovel, and we look down on it.
Who's we?
Capitalism. Capitalism. Look down on it.
There you go.
And it's just like at the Diridon station, where you see the history of the airport, and they'll show, San Jose, with the farmer. We don't want to be like farmers. We
need more words in that sentence.
Well, they were trying to get the airport to be expanded.
There's a display cabinet.
It's a history.
Diridon, it discusses the run-up to the creation of the airport.
It was a little airport, and they wanted to become an international airport. They wanted to become larger. It was a small little, podunk.
Anyway,
San Jose.
Anyway, the display case is full of the propaganda.
Right.
Now, these are printed propaganda broadsheets that would have gone in the newspaper. They would have been pinned up down at the general store, and it was denigrating
the
farmers.
Right.
It was denigrating the farmers. It was, the farmer hunched over on his wagon with his reins in his hand and a wheat chaff hanging out, hat on backwards and looking like this, looking like frumpy dumpy, and they're like, do you want to be like that? Or do you want to be like this? And it's like upright, Aryan looking white people with blonde hair and blue eyes.
And
ties and coats and bags of luggage and
bags of money, right?
Yeah, bags of money. It's like, that's propaganda.
Right. And then they said, we need to get into the future. We need to get into the future. And so they sold the expansion of the airport right here, right in our little town, right on top of us, which is really a bad place for an airport. And they put it there because businesses wanted it there. We didn't want it there. My neighbors fought it.
Well, that deal is now on the rocks.
Yeah.
That deal that you work our stupid job, however dangerous it is, we'll give you a little token at the end of the day. You go buy the food and housing things that you used to do for yourself.
Right.
Now we'll give you money to buy those things because you can't do that for yourself anymore.
It's on the rocks. And COVID has put it on the rocks. COVID has put it on the rocks. And it is our, I say, our teacher, our really our savior in a lot of ways, because it's really breaking down these institutions and killing people that are in these jobs, these slaves that are in the jobs of capitalism, and showing us this isn't the way to go forward. It's not healthy. People are dying. It's just nature showing us the problem of how we're living. And COVID has intensified it because it's a virus that we're spreading to each other, and it's the way we interact with each other and what we do with each other.
What happens when the pandemic is over, or perceived to be over, which is not the same thing?
Right. Well, that's what's happening right now.
What happens? What happens when it's over?
Well, right. What happens when it's over? It's like, how do we prevent it from happening again? And there's that too. We need to be looking at that. And we're not.
Okay,
and
you can't. The conditions that allowed a pandemic to be created. We created it. It's our product. We made that. The conditions that made it possible for us to create that still exist.
Right, exactly. We have it. We're still eating meat. We're still going into the bush to get the bush meat, which is the wild animals. We're not educating each other about being vegan. That's what we need to do. There's no education around the world to say leave those animals in their nature. And we have destroyed nature, and that's why they're saying when we bring these animals out of this nature, out of the wild animals out of nature, they've already been injured from the lack of vitality of their environment. And then we're eating them, and we're eating, these.
Okay, there's no we.
Well, a lot of these third world countries.
No, it's not third world countries.
China,
China,
Africa,
got started.
China, Africa.
It's China, and it's the wealthy.
And Africa.
The other Chinese goes to pork and ducks, and that's not where we got this pandemic. This pandemic came to us from
the
wild animals,
from the wild.
Kept in a wet market in Wuhan.
Right.
And from the wet market, it jumped to several other types of animals. And from one of those animals, it jumped to us. The people who were in there buying pangolin, that's a luxury item. That would be the equivalent of you buying a gallon of caviar. These are wealthy people in China demanding these services. And then when they start a pandemic with their practices, they have enough money to jump on a jet and fly to Vancouver.
When there's a pandemic there. And they left.
Yeah,
they left with their disease.
They
left with
to
their
North
disease.
America and Europe because they split. I'm not going to be locked down here. I'll be locked down in Vancouver. I'll be locked down in Vancouver,
New York. They went to
and
New
LA
York.
and New York, which, by the way, we'll never have a lockdown because Americans don't do that.
Yeah.
So I'll be sick in New York, and then I'll get well, and I'll wait for the pandemic to blow over in Wuhan because they're welding the doors shut on people's apartments to keep them in. And then when it's all over, I'll fly back because I'm wealthy. I can do this kind of thing. Well,
that's what happened.
And that's exactly what happened. And after, 4 or 5 weeks after the Chinese Communist Party had welded people's doors shut to keep them inside, the pandemic was over. And so the wealthy Chinese got back on a plane at LaGuardia, flew back to China, and it was done.
But it was thrown all over the world, the virus.
But they'd already contaminated all of us. Every single piece of that narrative is money.
Right.
These are wealthy people engaging in wealthy activities that are reserved for the wealthy that turned out to be hazardous, but they don't care because they can outrun the hazard and let other people deal with the hazard.
Right.
They just fly away. A lot of other people deal with the hazard. They don't care. And then they go right back and they go right back to their wet market. Where's my pangolin? Where's my fruit bat? I'm a wealthy person. I don't eat normal food. I don't eat pork and pig. And duck like all the poor people do. I want deluxe goods.
Right, and so they
go right back and do the whole thing again.
These Chinese people could have flown even to Europe if they wanted to. They could fly anywhere they want. There's no restriction.
Fly every other week.
And then
Europe,
they didn't cut off the flying to Europe. They just cut off the flying. Donald Trump only cut off the flying from China in the beginning of the pandemic, and so then that's what they said. They brought it to America. Was Europe was not shut off. And so, for all we know, the Chinese went to Europe and then they came over. But we don't know if it was just them. It could have been. It could have started from them.
By the time I got to Europe, Europeans could come over with it.
And the thing is, like Sophia would said in the beginning, it's the big capitalists that are doing business in China. A lot of the Caucasians and all the Europeans that are doing business in China too.
Yeah, they're managing manufacturing in China.
Of Apple and all the things that were happening, technology, and so we were all flying all over the place.
We're in a bad situation. It's really bad.
Like our videos, like and share and subscribe.
Fine.
Send money for all this great information we have on the future.
It's not great. It's all bad news.
Yeah, I know, but it's trying to get us ready, getting us resilient, is getting us ready. That's using the 3.5 pounds of brains that we have.
Yeah. You know what? Nobody wants that answer. Nobody wants that answer.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to be the first to abandon the deal. Okay? Let somebody else go first.
Yeah, I know.
Let somebody else go first. Let someone else figure it all out.
Right.
And then when I lose my job and I've been unemployed for 8 months, I'll go join the farming group that they formed. People are lazy. People are lazy, shiftless, and greedy. And, you know,
Yeah.
you can't expect anyone to go first.
Okay.
No one's going to go first.
Uh-huh.
You and I went first.
Yeah.
Not really.
No. We're still dependent on a lot of fossil fuels for our food.
Yep. The oats came from what? Minnesota?
San Diego? What?
San Diego?
Jaffe Brothers?
No, we got those from that other place. Pleasant Hill Farms or whatever it was called.
Oh, is that, he didn't have this, right?
No.
This came from Nebraska.
Nebraska, yeah.
Well, that's where you got your groats, huh?
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have groats? Is that what it was? Mm-hmm. Maybe he has it now. He might have it now. Maybe it's just out. We couldn't find groats, and Kat really likes the steel-cut groats.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a more hardy, chewy type of cereal.
Yeah.
And so we did get that
It's
from Nebraska.
It's a whole food. It's not processed or anything.
Right, where the oats, I think it is processed a little bit, right, to get to that.
Just to cut it.
It's cut in half. The seed is cut in half. Whereas rolled, it's rolled flat. That same groat is rolled flat.
I mean, oatmeal is also minimally processed, but
it's more processed.
It's not like malto meal or cream.
Right. So this is just
like
this is just a coarse ground that it just cut the seed of the oat, right? The oat seed. Whereas the rolled oat is flattened and it makes it more pasty. So anyway, so we got this in Nebraska from Pleasant Hill. Yeah. So it's another. And they shipped it to us in a container. And
fossil fuels.
Right. UPS. And I was realizing, about that. I was talking about that last night or something. The UPS, when I'm walking on my street, there's a lot more diesel trucks in our neighborhood now because of deliveries. And that's not good. And so what we really need is
you almost can't walk down the street now without an Amazon Prime van coming by and
Amazon,
UPS,
FedEx, right? And then the workers coming out, feeling like they don't have to wear a mask because they're healthy. They think because they're working and they're all mad that they're working and they think that they're healthy because they're working and they can't spread the disease. Like that wasn't true. That's the most. The COVID-19 is spread.
Do you know why
it's so scary?
You know why they don't wear
without
masks?
Symptoms. Most of it is spread without symptoms.
Do you know why they don't wear masks? I'll give you one guess.
Because they're capitalists.
Nope. Wrong guess. So I'll tell you why. Because sometimes when they go to a house to deliver a package, the person comes to the door, and they learned early on, like at the beginning, that if one of your workers is wearing a mask when Karen comes to the door, it's a big mouth fight. Okay?
I don't know. I'm not sure they don't wear masks, but I asked one guy.
There are lots of companies that don't let their employees wear masks because they don't want fights with customers.
Well, that's very true. They're told not to fight with the customers over masks, but it's a big problem in the marketplace of consumerism. It's a real problem for the
delivery driver
for the slaves of capitalism. It's a real problem.
And delivery driver is as fungible a position as chicken eviscerator. Okay.
Yeah. But I was thinking he might have been wearing a mask, but
There's
I asked
100 people lined up outside FedEx every morning wanting to drive a truck. Okay.
Yeah. But I asked him to stay away from me. He said, "Oh, don't worry about me. I'm healthy because I'm working. That means I'm healthy. I'm not spreading the disease." BS. So, people don't know. People aren't staying 6 feet apart. They're not working on staying 6 feet apart because they don't think it's real. Everything Donald Trump says, do the opposite.
Well, it's not just Donald Trump.
It's all the Republicans. It's the Republicans.
It's probably every
It is. It's the capitalism.
I could probably sit on a conference call. I mean, a press.
Yeah.
Conference. I could probably sit down on a press conference by any AOC.
Right.
And I could tell you, oh, that's bullshit. But they just said that.
That's true.
Anytime.
And I think there is a lot of and then look what's happening with Gavin Newsom. Our Democratic leader who, you know, our city council loves,
supposed
you
to
know,
be science driven.
yeah, and you know, he wouldn't even show documents. They said like, well, I think that the businesses were saying, please show us our documents while you're shutting us down. But now the research is showing that we're low on a certain level of beds and ICU beds, and that's why he's opening it up again. But there's been a lot of pushback on it now. From I saw it in the Mercury News, the editor of the Mercury News, the main newspaper editor.
What does pushback mean?
Meaning that they were saying we shouldn't be opening up. We are not in a good space in terms of COVID-19. We are so high, even though the graph is going down a little bit, but we're so high compared to where we were. We're still at very highest level of infection. So what? It went down a little bit. Doesn't mean we open up. No, that's not how New Zealand did it. They had 4 cases and they shut the whole economy down. 4, right? That's what she did.
Yeah. Well, that's because her countrymen are threatening to shoot her in the face for kids.
Yeah, I know exactly, and this is the problem. And the restaurant association told Gavin Newsom, you know, your job is on the line. First of all, they're trying to, you know, get rid of him, a recall on Gavin Newsom, and you know, he's feeling threatened, so he opened it up.
Death threats every single day.
You think so?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He gets death threats every single day. There's a lobbyist for the Restaurateur Brothership of America who sends him a death threat anonymously through a VPN 5 times a day. There are people who get paid to do nothing but send death threats to
family and children
all day, every day.
And he's
paid to do that.
Right. He's saying, let it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to sacrifice myself for you. You know, you stupid people. I'm sure Kat would say it more virulently, but you know.
I would. Yeah, I'm exactly in his boat. I would absolutely open up the economy. I would open up the restaurants, and I would tell the citizens of my state, you've heard from me enough times. You've heard from the health department enough times. You know what to do. Either you don't believe it, you know, or you can't. And either way, I'm telling you, you want to go back to work, you want to go back to the restaurant, you want to open your restaurant, go ahead. You're volunteering to get this disease.
Right.
You're volunteering.
Yeah.
You know what to do, and you're not going to do it. All right? Or you can't do it. Now you're volunteering.
Yeah.
Anybody gets sick from this point forward, volunteer to get coronavirus and have the plague. Everybody knows how to avoid this.
Yeah, right.
Everybody knows how to avoid this.
Yeah.
Or they can't.
Stay home. And that's what we started the conversation with, because it was staying home. And, you know, there's a lot of things to do at home, a lot of things to prepare, to learn to grow food.
Okay.
It's a full-time job.
There's a lot of people who are invested 100% in the deal.
Well, and then the deal with, and then you go and vacation and you travel and, you know, these type of things. You know, this is all capitalism trying to get us to go to restaurants in Italy, and the ads about Italy and the people and seeing the people and being on an Italy plane and the fabulous Italy food and you know, that's where most people go in the world, to Italy, to Venice. And they've been destroyed. Their environment has been destroyed by tourism. But a lot of people made a lot of money, you know, so it's still going with the big tour boats, right, that had COVID, the COVID boats. The rich people entertaining themselves. And we've been trying to live like the royalty. That's why we have grass in front of our lives, in front of our home, because we don't have to grow food. We have our food brought to us and prepared for us by our slaves, our housekeepers, and our this and that, and our gardeners take care of our land. And so we're living like the royalty, right? That's Absolutely. The grass in the front of the house. And in the past, in the past, I have heard from my neighbor, the truth, okay, is when my neighborhood on Sheely, which is now all, you know, rich Germanic people, you know, let's say rich white people, most of them Germanic, right? That's a lot of whites are Germanic, right?
Yeah, sure.
And one way or another, they conquered a lot of spaces, right? They conquered, right, England and stuff, right? So even your English are Germanic, right? Roots.
Yes, they are.
And you know, when we didn't have that everybody grew food in their front yard. There were chickens and grow food, and people were outside in their front yard managing their crops, and it must have been so much nicer. That's how people knew each other. People knew it. Now we don't see each other. We're behind the doors, and we work in the backyard. And that was the change that they said in Santa Rosa, that after the fires, people realized that their neighbors were the most important thing that they had. And that's how they rebuilt with the front porch. And that's the beauty of our neighborhood, is the front porch. And that's the old-fashioned neighborhood. Now in the suburbs, all you've got is a big garage in the front. You have cars parked all over. And still, we have that too. And we're having that too. So getting back to that point about the diesel on our streets, it's like I was really feeling that we need to stop the vehicles. I think that the trucks should.
Who's going to actually
the government. The government.
Who's going to actually do that? No, I need an answer to that question right now. Who's we?
The government.
You're saying these things, and my bullshit meter pegs. Okay, what are you talking about? Who's going to do that? Stop the cars. Who's going to do that?
And I was thinking about talking the trucks. I was thinking about the UPS.
Okay, who's going to do that?
And
what
my idea.
Person on this planet? Name one. I want a name. I want a name of one person who would do that besides you.
I don't know. If it's somebody in the city council, anybody in the city, maybe David
nobody.
Cohn. David Cohn.
No, he won't.
He's a scientist.
Send him an email. Pitch that thought to him. See what he says. Oh, yeah, we should do that. He's not going to say that.
What I was thinking about the idea of how I would do it, and I'm not even sure how, we would park the trucks on Stockton Avenue, and they'd wheel in the goods. They would wheel it in a what is that called? A dolly.
Yeah, okay, you know what? Jeff Bezos, lose his fucking mind if that's what your proposal was. Right. He would come over here specifically to shoot you in the head.
Right.
Personally.
And Jeff Bezos is giving out $1 billion or a massive amount of money. You know what he's giving it for? Of course, Jeff Bezos. He's giving it for who can discover how we're going to capture this fossil fuel.
Not Jeff Bezos, it's Elon Musk.
Was that Elon? Yeah, because he doesn't want to change.
He has a $100 million prize for someone who can come up with the best idea to capture.
Yeah, that's because nobody.
Now that's actually chump change. $100 million sounds like a lot. You know what he's trying to save with his $100 million prize?
His car economy.
His $100 trillion globalized industrial civilization.
Exactly.
And he's going to pay $100 million in a prize to save $100 trillion of GDP. Right, yeah. Seriously?
Right. That's it. That's all the pittance we get, and that's for somebody to discover how we're going to capture all.
That's how. That's how bloodthirsty
That's how
these
BS
people
it
are.
is. Yeah.
That's how bloodthirsty they are. You save my globalized industrial civilization, and I'll give you a 1/1000th of a penny in value
of my value.
Of my value. Your finder's fee for saving industrialized civilization is the equivalent of 1/1000th of a penny on the dollar.
Oh, I think there's a cup.
Normally, a finder fee, if you find someone's gold or their wallet, a finder's fee can be as much as 50%. Where's my 50%, bitch?
And he doesn't want it to be found anyway. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. And he knows there's no solution. There's no solution.
You're right.
So he looks good. He looks good.
He looks good, and it gives him
some cover.
That's all. And you know what? He'll even pay the $100 million because it's chump change for that guy.
It's a penny for him, yeah.
But the propaganda value is immense.
Uh-huh.
Even him announcing such a prize will cause a lot of people to breathe a sigh of relief.
Oh, we've got solutions coming.
Oh my God, the billionaires are looking for solutions. Well, I guess we're okay now.
Right.
He knows that. I know he knows
and back
that.
To business as usual.
Yes.
Because Elon is going to pay for somebody to fix it.
No, there's no fixing it. It's just talk about fixing it.
I know.
He knows. I know. I know that he knows.
Yeah.
There's nothing out there. This is a numbers game, and it's physics. And you are not going to fool physics.
So the title of this program would have been, or should be, and I'll have to relabel it, on YouTube. We're on YouTube on Cougar W. Search YouTube for Cougar W. And the name of this show was primarily Universal Basic Income as a bridge system a bridge um, to our fierce to be for fierce independence. What do you call it? Fiercely independent lifestyle.
Yeah,
A bridge
yeah,
to our fiercely independent lifestyle.
yeah.
Fiercely independent of
Call it that,
capitalism.
yeah.
What? Isn't that what we're trying to say?
Yes.
That's what we need. And it solves all our problems.
No, it doesn't.
When we stay home, it solves all our problems. Not all of them, no.
Only your
No.
problem, because you got one problem, which is
Climate change.
pandemic.
No, it's climate change. It doesn't solve our climate change
Doesn't
problem.
solve any of your problems.
All right,
That
fine.
problem never goes away. Not in the history of forever, okay?
That's
That
true.
problem never goes away.
Mhm.
That's a 10,000-year problem.
That's probably true.
Now, you can mitigate, you can adapt, you can save yourself.
Cope,
You cannot-
not save yourself. Cope. Try to
you can
cope.
cope. You can maybe you can cope. Maybe 700 million people can cope, and that's all that's left.
Yeah.
But no, you're not solving that problem. Don't ever talk about solving that problem.
Right.
Not around me.
No,
That's just baloney.
it's true. Let's see what I got charged at the farmer's market. I guess I got $1.50 a pound for carrots. That's not cheap, but I got that for $8.
Yeah, but you gotta support these people.
I know. Broccoli is $2.50 a pound. I got $5 for that. 3 bunches of beets at $3 each. Cauliflower, $3. They were beautiful cauliflowers. 15. 10 pounds of tomatoes at $25. So those were like $2.50 a pound, right? $2.50 a pound for tomatoes, which is a good deal. It's not bad. Organic tomatoes. And then that was the total. And then I got peas, yeah, so yeah. And his broccoli, you know what I love about Enrique's broccoli? It never goes brown for some reason, like weeks. It's still fresh. I don't know how he does it. He's got a trick in there.
Yeah, it's probably some pesticide he puts on it.
No. I don't know. Bunches, $3 each. Bunch of beets.
Well, in fairness, it's very fresh broccoli. By the time you get
4
broccoli
bunches.
at Whole Foods, it's probably 2 weeks old, right?
Right.
He
Yeah.
cuts his broccoli the day before. When you get it, it's day 48 hours old. you know?
Right. Yeah. And now we got 10 pounds of tomatoes, and I that was the product that I want to process into products that I want. Like I was thinking, Demetrice was talking about how so many of her people, the black people in Louisiana, New Orleans, they love ribs. What we really love is the barbecue sauce, right, honey? So I could make some barbecue sauce. Or I was going to make ketchup. I guess, I think you take ketchup and that becomes a foundation for barbecue sauce. So just having ketchup would be good. So I am going to make ketchup and I was going to can it. So I have 10 pounds of tomatoes. That's what he gave me. All right, so I'm going to do that. And he used a little scrap of paper. We're just proud of him. And gives it as in a box. Then when I text him what I want and he bags it up. I told him what I want. He gives me what he can. And he did a great job, and he puts it in a box. And then when we get to the farmer's market, it's all boxed up, ready to go. And when my husband comes, he picks up the box, staying away from people with our masks on, and puts it on our bicycle trailer. And the other great thing is he gave me a bunch of compost, his leftover leaves. So I was able to add that to my compost, make more compost, more good soil at home with his great vegetable matter. That was great. And we did that with Enrique at the Rose Garden Farmers Market. And then the other thing we did is we deal with Guillermo and buy from him. And he's wonderful and very helpful, always puts the stuff in my basket and has it all set up for me and charges me and easy. And then I met another provider, this woman, Anne, and she grows a bunch of food. Now I've got her phone number so I can find out what she's got available. I think she's getting mushrooms, which I'm really excited about, mushrooms. So I might go and get her mushrooms tomorrow on Saturday. Yeah. So that's good. I can get a lot of mushrooms. That would be great. So that was that. Enrique. He's a really sweet guy. Even wished me a happy Merry Christmas. He sent me a text and how much he appreciated me, and I appreciate him. So that was nice. And Guillermo appreciates me helping him. That's good. And Anne was very nice too. She's Chinese. I guess the farm is in Gilroy, but she, single woman, lives in Fremont or something. But she was really nice, and got a bunch of food from her. Celeries, that's what I got. So I'm gonna make my celery juice. All right, here I go. All right, here we go. All right. Just finish. Well, thanks for that talk, honey. Let me see where my socks are. Let's see. Capital One, important tax return document available. Oh boy, they're not mailing us anything, so I gotta go get it. Capital One, check out your 2020 tax information. View tax forms. Here are a few things to keep in mind. Online by clicking the link below. Now I gotta figure out my username. There she is. It's so nice and easy. This little camera is so sweet. We love you, little camera. Logic did such a good job. Good audio, good video. And here we are. We can end the stream.